Tell me your thoughts on this, because I believe you're actually somebody who wants to come out of Europe.
Very much so. I used to be director of the Freedom Association and its Better Off Out campaign. I moved over to Rudolf Wolf and its Commonwealth Infrastructure Fund because I believe that we need to now walk the walk with regards to Brexit. And instead of ramoning, as many people are still doing in the British political discourse.
I think this term ramoning and Brexiteer actually doesn't do any of you any favours, because it belittles a very serious problem this country is inflicting on itself.
Well, James, your perspective and your introduction, if I may say so, was heavily weighted to
quite rightly
views. Too. Well, no, in your view, quite rightly, but you did say that Brexit's the worst self-inflicted wound, and even worse than imperialism, even worse nationalisation. I mean, your views here, introducing the subject, were very
I didn't say it was worse than nationalisation.
Yes, you did.
I didn't say it was worse than imperialism. I said it is the worst self-inflicted wound. Those other things have already happened. It is the worst self-inflicted wound that we have done for some considerable time. Put it that way, if that makes you feel happier. But look, this is just semantics. Let's get down to the point. The point is, we are not going to be in such a good position when we do this, unless you can give me a couple of reasons why we are.
Well, it goes back to the referendum 2 years ago.
No, forget that. Just tell me how we're going to be better off.
You obviously weren't listening back then. It's taking back control of our laws, money and borders.
If you patronise me anymore, Rory, I will end the interview, because obviously you're not very keen on doing it, and obviously you don't have much of an argument.
No, I've given up my Monday afternoon to do this, evening. The point being...
was it not worth giving it up then, Rory? Is it not worth talking about enough as far as you're concerned?
No, I'm giving it up because I want to give it up.
Then answer the question. Tell me how we're going to be...
control of our laws, monies and borders.
All right.
This is the point, James.
Tell me...
You're not listening to the positive...
If you keep on being rude like that, Rory, we will fall out, because I'm not saying to you you're not listening, and don't you dare say that to me, because I'm listening to every single word.
I've answered the question, James.
What question have you...
Money, borders and laws. Those are the positives of Brexit, the ability to make trade deals around the world.
Now listen, give me 2 laws that we are going to take back from Brussels that we don't actually like. Laws that Brussels have imposed upon us that we don't want. 2
laws. The first is to make our own trade deals. This is part of the commercial policy that we're unable to do. The second thing is, of course, this is an internal debate for the UK. In my personal opinion, we should be outside the European arrest warrant, which is part of their judicial system.
Why would you want to be outside that when, first of all, we'll go back to the trade. We can make trade deals. We can help to make trade deals. We can involve ourselves in trade deals if we actually played a more prominent part in the European Parliament, but nobody talks about that. If we withdraw from the European arrest warrant, then criminals are going to be able to get away with a lot more than they do now.
So the first thing is the European Parliament is not the driving force in trade deals, it's the Commission. And
the Commission is a civil service of the European Parliament, so that the commissioners are told what to do. They can make decisions, but then it's voted on by the European Parliament. These are all semantics. Just tell me how we're not going to do any better trade deals out of the European Union.
James, you need to, I'm sorry to say, but the Commission is the driving force. It's the set of the regulation. It's the negotiating part.
In the same way that our civil service is over here.
The Commission, well, our civil service doesn't have a president, such as Jean-Claude Juncker, which heads up an executive of the Commission.
It has. Never mind. This is just playing with words.
Yeah, the point is that we can make trade deals independently, bilaterally, with countries...
Like who? Who can't we make a trade deal that we should make a trade deal with, which is going to make us better off?
So the European Union has failed consistently over a generation to make a trade deal with the United States of America. That is a key ally of the United Kingdom that the UK would be best served to have a free trade deal with. And yet, because of French protectionist interests with regards to its culture, language, and indeed its farming in previous years, it has failed to come to a resolution with the United States over a generation.
What are we going to trade with America and get such a better deal with that we can't already do with our European neighbours who are far closer to us? What is this whole business with America? And I'm a fan of Donald Trump. So listen, I don't think Donald Trump's going to do the best deal he can with Britain, by the way. He's not going to do a deal with any country that isn't better for America than it is for any other country. But I'm interested to know from people like you, Rory,
sure.
Why would we want to do trade deals with countries so much further away?
Well, okay, so the premise there is based on what the Treasury calls the gravity model. Now, that's basically you do more economic trade with those closest to you. Now, that's elements with the European Union over a generation, albeit, of course, the gravity model is being disproved as we do more trade outside the EU.
Is it impossible? Well, we're not doing any trade anywhere outside without the EU. You told me we aren't.
No, of course we are.
Well, then why are we leaving the EU?
Look, James, the majority of our trade in goods...
You're talking rubbish, aren't you?
No, James, you're talking rubbish because 55%
No, I think you're talking more rubbish than I'm talking.
Well, look, WTO models... The WTO model is the de facto model.
Let me get this right. So we're doing trade outside the European Union.
James, you're not letting me finish my point.
Go on then.
My point here, well, thank you. My point here is that your premise was we don't do any trade without the European Union. The fact that we do the majority of our trade on WTO terms with countries outside the European Union. That is a fact.
You just told me, hang on. You just told me we couldn't do any trade deals without the European Union. Now you're telling we do. Which is it?
Look, no. There's a difference, James.
Oh, I see there's a difference. Right, okay.
Well, you said, yes, there is a difference.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely simple. It's between doing trade deals and having trade. You said we don't do trade with other countries without the European Union.
Yeah. No, I didn't. That's what you said to me.
No.
I actually started by saying, we could do trade. We do trade with other countries apart from the EU, and we trade without going through the EU.
Yes, we do trade without going through the EU, and that's the point.
But so many Brexiteers make the point.
Trade.
Yeah, but look, we do trade deals as well. You just said. We do them through WTO.
Through the European Union, James. Get this right. The distinction is between trade and trade deals.
Okay.
We cannot do our own independent trade deals as part of the European Union, but we can and do trade on WTO terms with the rest of the world.
And so that's what apparently we want to do when we leave the European Union. We'll be going to WTO rules.
No, the government doesn't want to do the WTO terms. It's set forward its plan with Chequers, and it wants
nobody wants the Chequers plan, apparently.
Apart from the government. The government and the official line from the government. Do you speak for the nation, James?
I think I probably do, yes.
Well, as it turns,
actually,
the elected government, which you are not.
I think if I put myself up as the next Prime Minister, I think like Donald Trump, I would probably get in. That would stuff all of you, wouldn't it?
Well,
wouldn't that be terrible if I decide now I'm going to campaign to become the next Prime Minister of this country independently?
James, you don't just have an ignorance of the EU system, you have an ignorance of the UK system. We don't have a presidential model. We have a Prime Minister model. It's a Westminster model. You're elected as an MP and parties as a general election.
Everything can change. Everything can change. Everything can change.
Oh, dear,
and the way things are going, Rory, I think it'll be changing pretty dramatically, pretty quickly, don't you? But I'm sure you want us to do trade deals with China.
Soon. Yes, we have trade deals on favourable terms with China, as Switzerland has done, as other countries have done around the world, getting first mover advantage and basically opening up their markets and their goods to the Chinese, then fantastic. We're seeing a huge boom in manufacturing over the past 2 years, which many people of your disposition have criticised with regards to...
I haven't criticised it. What did I criticise it?
I didn't say you. I said many people
with my disposition. What disposition
your
do I have?
Disposition. You are obviously down on Brexit, James. This is quite clear. And
do you know what I'm in favour of? Let me tell you what I'm in favour of. The New World Order, one world government, keeping people like you in your box and making sure...
So you hate democracy. Well done, James.
Democracy's had its day, really, hasn't it? Because all it's doing is causing conflict. Maybe a benevolent dictator...
All right, you team up with Soros and his team and go for it. But then again...
Do you think he'd give me a lot of money? Do you think he'd donate money or not?
People, you're saying just now about being elected... And trust me, the people will not elect you if you stand on a world order ticket, taking away control.
Don't be so sure.
Look,
Don't be so sure.
2 years ago, the country voted to take back control of its money, border, and laws. You're obviously
but a lot of those people are so old
and you
now.
want to go beyond it.
And I think you'll find a lot of younger people.
Well, a lot of younger people what?
I think a lot of younger people would probably like to have a more understanding relationship with our near neighbours than the Brexiteers, who are predominantly fairly old.
We want an understanding relationship. We want a new relationship outside a political model that doesn't work for the United Kingdom. The point is, it's not Brexit or bust. The point is there's a new model out there. Indeed, the government is pressing for this new Chequers model, a free trade agreement with the EU.
And do you agree with the Chequers model? Do you think that's a good idea?
No, actually, I don't agree with the Chequers model, but I don't agree that leaving the European Union without a Chequers model is a bad deal. So the point is that the idea for UK to take back control against your wishes of the New World Order to take control away from people...
What control are we going to take back, by the way? Because people say we're going to take control
money,
of
borders and laws.
Yeah, well,
Did I not say that about five times?
Tell me the borders. How are we going to... I thought we controlled our borders. How are we going to stop... what are we going to do to control our borders that we don't do now?
Well, the government will look to introduce an immigration bill. It's part of a package of Brexit bills.
And what's wrong with immigration? I thought immigration was good for this country.
Well, it depends what kind of immigration. I mean, it's not just a one-size-fits-all model, which we apparently just... Yeah, do you?
Well, I don't really, because I think that a lot of the Brexiteers were just little Englanders, weren't they? And just wanted foreigners out of the country.
Why are you slandering the majority of the country that voted to leave the EU?
It's not the majority of the country. It is a slight majority of the country at the referendum. But if there was another vote now, I'm pretty sure it would go the other way. If you were to allow 16-year-olds the vote, if you were to allow British citizens who live in Europe the vote, it would have gone the other way anyway.
Well, that's your hypothetical suggestion that you have no proof to back with, but then...
Don't be ridiculous, Rory. You know I'm right.
Where is your proof? No, I don't know you're right. Actually, where is your proof?
There are...
name a study. You asked me to name a law.
I don't need to do anything. I'm just going to tell you.
You don't need to do anything, but you're telling me a hypothetical situation.
You're frightened now,
no
Rory.
idea about.
You're frightened. You're on the back foot, mate. You're on the back foot. Come on.
You have no idea.
What is this Commonwealth and Infrastructure Fund? What is this Commonwealth and Infrastructure Fund? What is that?
Well, the Commonwealth Infrastructure Fund is looking to build a Commonwealth for the next generation. We're looking to invest in countries around the Commonwealth to get their infrastructure in place.
Which countries in the Commonwealth?
Well, currently we're in discussions with 18 countries in Africa and in Asia and in North America.
Yeah, well, you're not named one yet.
Well, I've only been talking about it for about a minute. We have projects going live soon in Ghana and Guinea.
Ghana and Guinea, okay.
Yeah, and indeed Guinea is outside the Commonwealth because they buy into a vision.
I was just going to remind you of that, but okay. What about countries that have appalling human rights issues within the Commonwealth? I mean, personally, if we're going to leave the European Union, I'd like to wrap up the Commonwealth as well. Let's go leave that as well. Yeah, leave that as well. If we're going to leave the European Union, let's leave the whole lot and just go our own way.
You have absolutely no idea how the Commonwealth is structured through a Commonwealth, indeed the Commonwealth body, which is situated in London. You've got the Commonwealth Charter, which these countries...
Everything can change, Rory. Every single thing can change, just like we're going to go and crash out of the European Union, which is going to
have no
make
clue
people like you...
how things will change. It's evident you have no idea.
Well, tell me. I'm trying to be educated, but you're not educating me.
Works. Well, you keep on cutting me off for my point.
I don't. I ask you questions and you keep...
Brexiteers, and you slander the majority of the voting public by saying they're little Englanders and wanting to impose a new global order on the UK. Now, what is that but ignorance? You're, at the moment, looking to take away the control that people want and voted for 2 years ago. Unfortunately, James, you have no clue.
Okay, nice talking to you, Rory. You've got no sense of humour anyway, but when the Commonwealth and Infrastructure Fund can actually educate me in some way, I'd be delighted to hear you, because you haven't answered one of my questions. And okay, I must confess, I do wind up a little bit, Rory, but then I'm sure you are aware of that because we've spoken before. Nobody can give me any conclusive reasons why we're going to be better off. People trot out the same old stuff, money, laws, borders, whatever it is. But how are we going to be better off crashing out of the European Union? I don't understand why it is going to make us so much better off. I've no love of the bureaucracy of Westminster or of Brussels. The bureaucracy seems to be something that politicians just love and thrive on. But to unravel the laws and the relationships of 40 years on a whim, and I think it was a whim, because a lot of people, and there are little Englanders out there who just think they can turn the clock back to the 50s, without a doubt. I've chatted to them. They ring me, they tweet me, they troll me all the time. So you see them there. But I think a lot of people voted to leave the European Union because they're fed up with politicians. And Rory's a politician. I mean, he's making political comment. And of course, I don't really want to see a new world order. Actually, the amount of rise I get out of suggesting that to people continues to amuse me. But if we continue with this, and I'm being serious for one moment, with this nationalism, this fragmentation, nations wanting to be unto nations themselves, then I think that is just a recipe for disaster in the future. We've worked together with other European nations well for the last 40 years. Admittedly, the European Union have tried to expand too quickly and take in too many former Eastern European countries, and that has been a problem. And countries whose economies were not matched enough to the rest of the European Union, that has been a problem. But one of the biggest problems, and I've said it before, is the lack of intellect shown by our MEPs. Most of them nobody's ever heard of. Most of them nobody ever voted for. In fact, I think it did British politicians a favour. They saw the European Union as a way of sidestepping any criticism of our own Parliament by being able to blame it on the European Union. And then when things went well, and things that perhaps had come initially from the EU, then our politicians took the credit for it. I don't think we really involved ourselves enough in the European ideal. Now, it doesn't matter to me because I'm getting on a bit, but I do think it will affect my children and my grandchildren. I think it'll take a long time for the country to find its new trade deals, its new partners. Why put off your next door neighbours for friends in a city far away? Maybe I am ignorant, but I think I've got a better grip on generally everything than some.